Hello guys, welcome to the practical session of this design course. I know this is the part you have been waiting for, and I'm so excited to start this session with you. So to begin this practical session, we're going to be looking at two things. Number one, how to cut images out from your background. And number two is how to use the masking feature in Photoshop. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So for this is a very small design. I'm going to be using 300 as a resolution, and I'll create the project. So create. Now, I said I was going to teach us how to cut out images. So let me bring in the image I want to cut out. You can do that by dragging the image from wherever it is onto Photoshop, or you can click on open, click file, click open, and then pick the image. I'm using the image of this ballerina. So we're using the image of this ballerina for this practical. Number one, we're going to be looking at how to cut out our image from the background. Now, remember in our introduction to the Photoshop interface, I mentioned that there are many tools you can use for cutting out images. I'm going to just be showing you a few of them that I think are relevant to this kind of image. Now, looking at our image, the background is almost kind of, the same color, just a little variation in the shades of it. Now, a tool that might be very useful here is the eraser tool, but not just any type of eraser tool, it's the magic eraser tool. So let me show you what that can do. So let's click on the magic eraser tool, and I'll just click on a portion of this picture, the background. Now, what the magic eraser tool does is it picks colors within the same color range. Like if it's a white background, it will pick all of the whites on that image. Now we're picking this gray, so I'll just click. Let's see what that does. Can you see that? It literally takes off every color that is in this color range and just removes them straight up without having to do much work. I'll click here again. You see that it's cleaning up the edges gradually. So all I have to do is just look for all of those spots that have the gray and just click on them. And Photoshop will automatically delete those parts and leave me with a very clean image of my model. Now, once I've done this, remember your move tool. I'll go back to my move tool. It's the first tool on the top, or I can just press V, that's the shortcut, and then drag this lady from where she is into her workspace here. Can you see that? Now she's on a separate layer. Simple, right? So simple. Let's try another method. So let me go back to the initial point. You can do that by pressing Ctrl Z, right? By pressing Ctrl Z and as many times as possible. Just that would like undo what you've done. The second tool is the object selection tool. Now this is a new feature that comes with newer versions of Photoshop. This was not in like the CC 2014 or 15. Is one of the very new tools in Photoshop. Now what this does is it's called the object selection. So you identify the object you want to select and drag over that object, and Photoshop's AI would try to walk around it and select just that object. So now I want to select the lady. I'll just click and drag around. I'll just click and drag over her as a subject. And once I'm done dragging, I'll release it and it will start the work. Can you see that? It automatically picked out just the lady. Now, but if you go in a bit more and you check areas like this, you can see that it didn't select some parts of her hand, right? So we might have to manually select that. And you can use various tools to do that, which I'll be showing you right now. Under the object selection tool, we also have the quick selection tool and the magic wand tool. I'll be using the quick selection tool to correct this. So now the quick selection tool works like a brush, like the brush tool. You just use it to drag over the areas you want it to pick, and it must be in the plus sign. Like you're adding to your previous selection. So that's what it means to have that plus. Just drag it over those edges. If I want to remove, I will hold down Alt and it will change to minus, or you can come to the top here and just click the minus sign. So Alt, I want to remove this part, Alt and drag, right? Just drag, 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 can keep going like that. Let's come to the top here, select addition, I'll add this, right? Come to the top here to add. So that's how the quick selection, we're going to actually do a deep dive into the quick selection tool now. Let me select this off. Also, a quick tip, to increase the size of the quick selection tool, you can either press your bracket, open bracket, or the close bracket to increase and decrease the size, right? Can you see that? We're selecting just the part of our model. And this tool is so intelligent that by itself, it can determine the edge of an image, although it might be wrong at times, but most of the times it's very accurate. See that? So once we're done picking every part of our mover, I can move. Let me show you another way to move from one canvas to another. So I'll just press Ctrl C, Ctrl copy, come to the canvas I'm working on and press Ctrl V. You see that? You can actually see that we have a little more things to deal with around here. We can use the eraser tool here. Now, the bottom line of when it comes to selection is that you can use more than one selection tool at the same time, depending on what you want to achieve using, doing the design work. So that's how to select an image from a background. We've used the magic eraser tool, we've used the quick selection tool, we've used the object selection tool. Let me show you one last one. Let me bring in a separate image this time to explain that. Now, looking at this image, of course, we could use all of the tools we've mentioned before, like using our magic eraser tool. You can see that. Can you see that? We could use that, but now I'll be showing you how to use the pen tool to also create a selection. So come to your pen tool or press P. That's the pen tool. And then you just literally click and drag. So I click, I come to another point, click and drag, come here, click and drag, come here. Since it's an edge, I'll stop here, come here, click and drag. And you just keep going and going and going and going. Now, the reason why it is showing you that color is because I put it in the shape mode. Normally it should be in the part mode, but let's just keep going. Right, I select this, select this, select this, select this, select this. And then I'll, yeah. And after I've selected it, all I have to do is right click and then click on make selection. And automatically it would select the parts that I've drawn over. So I can come back to my the layout of my background and then pick this guy from where he is. I'll use my move tool this time by pressing V or going to the move tool and drag. Can you see that? We've moved this guy from the background it was into a new background. And literally we have something we could use for another design. Night of drinks or something. Now, let me just tell you this up front that using selection tools and all of that takes time to master. You have to use them over and over and over again to get accustomed to how they work. And the more you use them, the better you become at using them. Just like riding a bicycle, the more you ride, the better you become at riding. So that is how to select objects. So now I'll go through the masking feature of Photoshop. I hope you're ready for this. Now remember the image of the ballerina we have here. Let's select her out. Let's just pick her out. Now once I have an image, I'll drop her on this new canvas we're working on. I'm going to check this a bit. So now let's have some text. Let's write dance away. Dance away. I've used my text tool to type this. To select it all, I'll press Ctrl E to select all of it. Let me increase the size to about 60. 60. I'll change my font to Bebas. Right? Let me increase the size more to about 100. Right? Now, masking is usually used to add a bit of drama to your design. Now you can see that this lady, she's obviously now behind dance, the layer dance. You can see the layer dance is on top of a layer, right? Now, I want to add a bit of movements. I want to make some part of our body be on top of the dance layer and some of it be beneath the dance layer without necessarily affecting any of the layers here. So let me show you what that means. Now, for example, let me drag in, let me zoom in a bit. Now you notice this part of her hands. I want this C to be behind her. And I want the A to still be in front, and I also want our hand to be on top of this letter. Now, as you can see here, we have her behind the letter dance, but I want this C to be behind her, and I also want our hand to be on top of this letter A, right? So that's what masking will help you do. So how do I do that? So I come to my layer that I want to, use, and then I'll click on this masking tool, add layer mask, right? Once I've added that, you notice that there's no change. Obviously, there's no change because we've not started doing anything. Now, once you are in the masking mode, it's usually in two colors, black or white, your foreground and your background color here. Now, to be able to add an effect or mask on this guy, I will need to use the color black. So I have to bring it to the front as my foreground color. So I'll do that by pressing X. That means the color should switch space. The white should go to the back while it brings the black to the front. Now, once I've done that, I'll come back to my layer mask feature. And I'll come back to that layer mask canvas. And then I'll prick my brush tool. Now, let's do that. There's the brush tool. Use the brush tool. You can also get to the brush tool by pressing B. Now, the brush tool here is very small. Now, let me quickly mention this too. If you click on any of your tools and you notice that it is a plus, it looks like a plus sign instead of a circle, especially your brush tool, it means that your caps lock is on. So you might want to switch that off like I just did now, and it's back to circle. I will increase the size by either coming here to increase the size, or I could just use the bracket keys, see that, to reduce or increase the size. Now I want to edit this. Since our brush is selected as black, I'll change the opacity to 100 and I'll just brush over this. Can you see that? Almost works like magic. Let me just show you something now. Let's imagine I made an error, I made a mistake while I was cleaning. How do I correct that? All I have to do is change it to white, and white will be used for correction. So I'll press X again to change my foreground color to white. And can you see that? Just using white, I'm just going to clean over this. Can you see that? 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 Now, look at the difference. Without the masking tool, without the mask layer, look at what we have. We have a picture behind, but with the masking tool enabled, We have just a part of that behind. Let's do another thing. Let's bring um, the N, this other part of the N, let's put it behind that too. So I'll click on the layer mask menu and just drag. Now it's not clean because white is selected, so I'll change it back to black by pressing X, and then just drag. Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? I'll zoom in a bit to get a little more accurate. So that is how to use the masking tool. You can use this masking tool to achieve effects like this, the ones you can see on your screen right now. You can use masking to achieve this kind of effect. It is a very, very important and useful tool. So that brings us to the end of this first practical class. In the next practical class, we'll be making a drinks flyer for Pharaohs. I hope you're ready for that. See you in the next class.